Traveling is a means to success. Do subscribe Travel and Taste channel and like videos. For further videos, stay connected. Top traditional Honduran food and dishes to try when you are in Honduras. Honduras is a country of rich history, paradisiacal weather, and gorgeous sandy beaches, but nothing captures its essence quite like its cuisine. Through the virtually endless array of flavors, aromas, and textures, traditional Honduran dishes tell a story that's indicative of the natives' welcoming nature and generosity of spirit. From hearty, rich baleadas to creamy, aromatic arroz con leche, these are some of the most popular Honduran dishes. Stuffed turkey. Stuffed turkey is the most important dish in the Honduran Christmas dinner. Its preparation is a Christmas Day ritual. After marinating the turkey with seasonings during the afternoon, it is baked in a slow oven and served with other Christmas preparations, such as stuffed rice and Christmas salad. It is certainly too much work to eat every day. That's why it is usually prepared in large quantities so you can eat it the next day as a reheated brunch with all the leftovers from the night before. Ronpope. A typical drink served at Christmas time, Ronpope is made with egg and rum, with a touch of cinnamon and nutmeg. It is served cold and enjoyed in the company of family and friends. Torrejas. Torrejas are part of the Spanish heritage in Honduras. They are a typical dessert that is usually eaten for Christmas or Easter. In Spain they are called torrejas and are very similar, a slice of bread soaked in milk and sweetener, coated with egg and fried. The difference is that in Honduras they use panela, an unrefined whole sugar cane, and they are seasoned with cloves and cinnamon powder. Nacatamales. Love them or hate them, with nacatamales there is no in between. Their consistency and texture are very particular thanks to the method used to prepare them. Basically, it is a mixture of spiced corn flour with different types of fillings inside. The Honduran nacatamal usually has pork, chickpeas, rice, potato, chickpeas, and olives. The dough with its filling is wrapped with banana tree leaves and cooked over low heat. It's certainly a lot of work just to eat every day, right? Well, nacatamales are usually prepared by families only once or twice a year, and usually eaten at Christmas. Atol de Elote Corn drink. The Atol de Elote is an ancestral drink of Central American origin and consists of a cream made with the whole corn kernel. Each country prepares atole with different finishing touches, but in essence, the Guatemalan, Honduran, Salvadoran, and Mexican atole are the same. Coconut bread. Just as its name says, it is a bread made with coconut, and it is quite tasty and consistent. You can find it in the city of Tela where it is prepared by the indigenous women of the region who live from the sale of these traditional foods. Chuleta con tajadas, pork chop with fried plantain. Like the Pollo Chuco or fish with fried banana, chuletas con tajadas is one of the typical meals of the North Coast that is usually eaten when you go on vacation to the beach. It consists of a fried pork chop accompanied by fried plantain chips and the usual toppings, tomato sauce, cabbage, grated cheese, and hot sauce. Fried fish. Fried fish is usually accompanied by fried plantain chips and fried bananas. It is usually eaten on the north coast of the country or around Lake Yojoa. Pollo Chuco. Pollo Chuco is a typical dish from the city of San Pedro Sula in northern Honduras. It consists of a portion of fried chicken accompanied by plantain chips. What characterizes this food is the combination of sauces on top with a mixture of cheese and shredded cabbage salad. Canoas de Platanos Maduras fried ripe plantain. The plantain is an essential part of the Honduran cuisine, and the fried plantain is one of the most typical dinners of Hondurans. It consists of a whole fried plantain divided in half and accompanied with a side dish of beans, butter, and grated cheese is placed. Chilaquiles. Chilaquiles is also known in Mexico, but cannot be missing in this list since it's a Honduran favorite as well. The preparation of Honduran chilaquiles is very similar to other fried dishes, with a topping of cabbage, sauce, and cheese. It is also usually served with pork rinds. Yucca with chicharrón. If yucca is not in soup, then they are fried. Hondurans love fried yucca with a topping of cabbage, homemade tomato sauce, and grated cheese. Tajadas Plantain chips. Plantain chips are the ideal accompaniment to any meal. They are simply slices of plantain fried in butter or oil. You can usually find them already packaged like potato chips, but they are a delicacy that is best enjoyed when they are homemade. Pastelitos de Perro or Honduran pie. They are called Pastelitos de Perro, but they are really fried corn flour patties filled with a stew of meat, potatoes, and sometimes rice, seasoned with a sauce of tomato, onion, and peppers. They are a real delicacy that is usually eaten as a snack in high schools or universities, as well as a meal with friends. It is a very elaborate dish that is not usually prepared at home, and it is a must-try if you visit Honduras. Capirotadas Soup. Capirotadas is a kind of cheese dumpling, usually served in a beef broth accompanied by vegetables, such as carrots or potatoes. Olancho Tapado Soup. This is the favorite soup to have on a Sunday while watching a soccer league game. It is a meat soup containing pork, chorizo, and beef. The soup is also served with a variety of green plantains, ripe plantains, and yucca. It has the particular flavor of any Honduran stew, as it is always seasoned with cilantro, garlic, onion, and tomato. Bean soup. It is already clear that Hondurans are obsessed with beans, so much so that they have their own soup. It is a bean-based broth with hard-boiled egg and vegetables, accompanied, like any soup, with white rice and corn tortillas. Snail soup. Snail soup is one of the must-try dishes if you visit the Honduran coast. Besides having a spectacular flavor, it also has its own song. The broth of this magnificent soup is made with coconut milk and seafood broth, and inside is a variety of vegetables such as plantain and yucca. It is accompanied by rice and corn tortillas. Although it is a hot soup, in Honduras it is a dish that is usually eaten on summer afternoons at the beach. Honduran Chinese rice. Chinese rice? Yes. As strange as it may seem, the Chinese rice that you find in Honduras has only the name Chinese. In essence, it is a bowl of fried rice with pieces of meat, chicken, and shrimp, but in fact, it is more than that. It is rice with a particular flavor that you can only find in Honduras or in some Honduran restaurants in the United States or Spain. Honduran Pupusas. Of Salvadoran origin but with a very different flavor, Honduran pupusas are a favorite of foreigners and locals alike. They are like arepas stuffed with cheese, but their preparation is different, since the cheese, chicharrón or bean filling is placed inside the raw corn dough, then flattened to give it a fatter tortilla shape. It is placed on the griddle and is ready in no time. It is served hot with a topping of cabbage or pickled chili and onion. Honduran Enchiladas. The name enchilada may sound a little familiar since there is a dish with the same name in Mexico, but be careful not to confuse them since their preparation and ingredients are completely different. The Honduran enchilada is like a tortilla tostada. The base is a fried corn tortilla with ground beef, and on top of it are several toppings to choose from: cabbage, homemade tomato sauce, cheese, hard-boiled egg, and tomato. It is usually eaten as a snack in high schools and universities or at gatherings of family and friends. Carne Asada. Every country has its own particular way of preparing barbacoa or carne asada, and Honduras is no exception. This traditional meal that is shared with the family on weekends is characterized by its side dishes, rice, beans, corn tortillas, grilled plantain, and dry cheese. It is usually eaten in the evenings with family, friends, and national cold beers such as Imperial or Salvavidas. Burgers are not as popular as in the States, as Hondurans prefer to grill a variety of Creole and spicy sausages, chicken and pork. Catrachas. One of the most typical and easy to make, catrachas consists of a fried corn tortilla base, refried beans, and a topping of grated cheese. Traditional Honduran breakfast. The Honduran traditional breakfast can be eaten either for breakfast or for dinner. It consists of a plate of the most typical ingredients of the region: fried beans, fried plantains, corn tortillas, Latin cheese, creamy butter, and eggs. It is undoubtedly a breakfast of champions that will give you energy for the rest of the morning, especially in a country where the sun rises very early, between 5 o'clock and 6 a.m., and people usually breakfast between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. Baleadas. Baleadas is a dish originally from the North Coast, but it is one of the meals that never goes missing in the daily life of every Honduran. It consists of a wheat flour tortilla very similar to the Italian piadinas or the kebab wrap. It is served very hot and filled with various ingredients. The simple baleada usually has fried beans, butter, and grated cheese. If you want something more hearty, ask for a special baleada. In addition to the ingredients mentioned above, it also includes fried bananas, avocado, or some kind of meat. The baleada is eaten at breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Instruction before eat: check food is halal or haram. To subscribe Travel and Taste channel and like videos. For further videos, stay connected.